You know, they say history doesn't just repeat itself, it rhymes. And it turns out about every 36 years, a very specific pattern shows up. A quiet but really profound stress test on our world. It's the Saturn-Neptune cycle. And it's that moment when the systems we've built have to face the beliefs we hold. So let's dig into this pattern, see what it tells us about our past, and what it might be telling us about our very near future.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll break down this core tension between illusion and reality. Then, we'll look at how this cycle played out at two huge turning points in history. After that, we'll explore what makes the upcoming 2026 conjunction so different, look at one nation that seems uniquely tied to this pattern, and finally, get to the big question this cycle forces all of us to ask.
All right, let's dive right in. What is this cycle really all about at its core?
This is it. This is the big question. It's not really about sudden, violent revolutions. It's about something much quieter. It's about what happens when that narrative scaffolding, the stories holding up our institutions, our economies, our governments, just runs out of steam.
To get this cycle, you have to get the two main players. On one side, you've got Saturn. Think of Saturn as hard reality. Borders, budgets, the laws of physics, the hard limits of the world. It's just what is. And on the other side, you've got Neptune. That's everything we can't touch. Our beliefs, our ideologies, our national myths, our collective dreams. It's what we imagine. And when they come together, well, what we've imagined is forced to have a very real meeting with what's actually true. The result isn't some loud, dramatic explosion. It's more like a slow leak. You start to see this quiet erosion of faith. Institutions that seemed like they'd be there forever suddenly feel hollow. The big ideas that used to inspire millions just start to feel tired, unconvincing. It's really a time of collective exhaustion where we all kind of look around and realize the story we've been telling ourselves just doesn't match the facts on the ground anymore. Okay, so that's the theory. But where this gets really fascinating is when we look back at actual history. Let's check out two absolutely pivotal moments from the 20th century and see this cycle in action. First up, 1917. This conjunction happened right in the heart of World War I. I mean, look at how this timeline lines up with the war. This period wasn't just about a war, it was the complete collapse of the old world order. We're talking the end of the Ottoman, the Austro-Hungarian, and the Russian empires. Gone. So what belief system actually failed? It was that ancient idea, the divine right of kings, the belief that your authority came from God, passed down through your bloodline. That whole structure just collapsed. But it wasn't replaced by pure hard reality. Nope. A brand new illusion, a new belief rushed in to fill the void. Political ideology, Marxism especially, came along with this new story of salvation, not in the afterlife, but right here on Earth, with the state as the new God. And this is the absolute key to understanding that moment. Reality didn't just win. One massive faith-based system was just swapped out for another one. The belief in kings died, sure, but the belief in a political utopia was born. The illusion just changed its clothes. Okay, let's fast forward 2 cycles to 1989. Now, the world is defined by the Cold War. The dominant illusion is communism. And as the conjunction builds through the late 80s, it climaxes with the fall of the Berlin Wall and, pretty soon after, the total dissolution of the Soviet Union. But 1989 was different. It had a totally different feel. This wasn't a violent revolution sparked by some new, exciting hope. This was a collapse that came from pure, simple exhaustion. The belief in central planning had just evaporated. The people in charge still had power on paper, but everyone else had just quietly stopped complying. The belief was gone, and so the whole structure, now totally hollow, just crumbled. And this quote just nails it. It wasn't about replacing one dream with another. It was a moment of cold, hard realism. It was like this massive, collective sigh, and this admission that the whole 70-year experiment had failed. This time, the illusion didn't just change form, it dissolved. So if you zoom out and look at the whole 20th century, you see this incredible narrative arc. In 1917, a powerful new illusion, communism, is born. Then around 1953, that illusion gets managed and institutionalized all over the world. By 1989, it collapses under its own weight, which, of course, raises the critical question, what comes next? If this pattern holds, 2026 is about the enforcement of reality. And that brings us to the cycle we're in right now, and why this upcoming conjunction is fundamentally different from the ones we've been talking about.
The next exact conjunction of Saturn and Neptune is on February 20th, 2026. This moment kicks off a brand new 36-year cycle. But what makes this one so important isn't just when it happens, it's where. It happens at the very beginning of the zodiac, in Aries. And Aries is all about action, initiation, and force. It is not a sign that's interested in philosophy or ideology or beliefs. It demands execution. This conjunction doesn't ask, what do you believe? It asks, what are you going to do about it? And maybe more importantly, what are you able to do? So what does this actually look like on the world stage? Well, it likely means the end of what you might call performative authority, where symbolic leadership just isn't enough if it can't deliver real results. It could mean the collapse of strategic ambiguity, that fog of deniability that countries love to hide behind. And crucially, it means a hard confrontation with physical limits. We're talking supply chains, energy resources, the logistical realities of military power. In short, talk is cheap. Execution is everything. Now, to make this even more real, there is one nation whose history is so consistently, so remarkably aligned with this cycle that it's like a persistent echo of its meaning. Take a look at this timeline. It's kind of staggering. At nearly every single Saturn-Neptune conjunction, Russia has gone through a profound, system-altering turning point. The assassination of a reformist czar in 1881, the revolution in 1917, the death of Stalin in 1953, which threw the whole communist bloc into chaos, and of course the dissolution of the Soviet Union itself in 1989. The pattern is just undeniable. So why Russia? What makes it so tuned into this frequency? Well, it seems to be baked right into its national character. Russia has historically combined this intensely strong, centralized, top-down Saturnian authority with these powerful, sacrificial, almost mystical Neptunian national stories. And that unique fusion makes the country incredibly sensitive to this particular stress test, when its powerful myths smash up against its material limits. So we've seen the pattern in history, we've seen what it might mean for the future. Let's bring it all home to the one essential question this cycle is really asking all of us. At the end of the day, this is what it all boils down to. This cycle is like a pragmatic, unsentimental audit of our world. It doesn't care about our hopes, our dreams, or our ideologies. It has one single criteria. Does it function? It strips away everything that can no longer sustain itself. And that leaves us with this final, really challenging question to ponder. When the narratives fade, when the illusions dissolve, when the faith is just plain exhausted, what is left? What is real, what is functional, and what is durable? The answers we find to that question are what will define our world for the next 36 years.